Went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wears a...
Mr. Cooper, coach, teacher, janitor, you're a real triple...
Mr. Hightower, the new music teacher. I'm here to see the...
He told me that when he got Oceans, Steve called the producers to try to get his role and even wanted to take less money.
Let's be real. Hollywood's full of secrets, but this one hits different. 7 comedians just exposed what they're calling the truth behind Steve Harvey's rise to fame. And it's not the motivational, feel-good story we've all been told.
You know, uber successful, and then Bernie started to, because he didn't ever think he would get the opportunity he got. But once he did, America loved him, like we all kind of knew they would. And he decided to go a different way.
They're saying the man who built an empire on family, faith, and funny business didn't climb the ladder. He climbed over people. It starts with Mark Curry.
You on my material,
right?
You know, what's that about? You know, and then, you know, people want to jump up. Oh, he didn't know, he didn't steal your... So yes,
Before the Steve Harvey show, there was Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Curry says he told Steve about his sitcom idea back in the early 90s, a comedian who ends up working in a school, learning from the kids while keeping his swagger.
Mr. Cooper, coach, teacher, janitor, you're a real triple...
Then, a few years later, Steve drops the Steve Harvey show.
Mr. Hightower, the new music teacher. I'm here to see the...
Same setup, same energy, even the same storyline arcs. At first, Curry kept quiet. He didn't want to be the guy calling another black comic a thief. But then he turned on the TV one day and heard Harvey telling his own Halloween story word for word. A friend called him like, bro, he's doing your material on NBC.
Same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit.
Curry said when he confronted Steve about it, Steve shrugged and said he didn't realize. But that moment stuck. That was the first crack in the image, a whisper that maybe Steve Harvey wasn't the hustler turned mogul everyone thought. Maybe he was just better at packaging other people's ideas.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week.
Then came Bernie Mac.
Do your material around a lot of comedians. That's like stealing in front of the police.
Everybody remembers the original kings of comedy. Steve, Cedric, DL, and Bernie tearing up arenas in the early 2000s. But behind the laughter, it was war.
Comedy Jam 25. It's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing. Is Katt Williams gonna show up?
I'm nervous as hell right now.
Bernie told close friends that Steve couldn't stand how audiences worshiped him. On stage, Bernie was electric, unfiltered, raw, real. He stole every show, and Steve hated it.
Me something, I believed it because he never lied to me. He told me that when he got Oceans, Steve called the producers to try to get his role and even wanted to take less money.
Bernie said Steve tried to get him fired from the tour, went behind his back to the producers, and later even called the Ocean's 11 team trying to take his role, offering to do it for less money. That's not rumor. Bernie said it in GQ, and radio host Ed Lover later backed it up, saying Bernie told him the same thing.
Bernie is one of those people, like certain other people in my life, that I knew very well. If Stretch told me something, I would believe it because he never lied to me. Bernie told me something, I believed it because he never lied to me.
Word for word, Bernie never forgave Steve. They never made peace before Bernie died in 2008, and that unfinished wound still haunts the comedy world. Fast forward to 2024, and Katt Williams walks into Club Shay Shay and sets the internet on fire.
That I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
Right.
The issue was that I had already done this particular joke on BET's Comic View twice.
For 3 straight hours, he tears the mask off Hollywood, naming names, dropping proof, and going straight at Steve Harvey like never before. Katt accused Steve of straight up watching Mark Curry's show and jacking his whole style. then taking Katt's own homeless comic story just to seem humble and relatable. Katt didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said, "Steve was never homeless. We were on tour 25 years ago. The man was getting paid thousands a night in cash."
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week.
But that was just the warm-up. Katt claimed Steve and Cedric the Entertainer were part of a tight circle that used to sit in the back of comedy clubs.
We've been friends for 30 years, man.
Oh, wow.
30 years.
That's big.
Man, that's crazy, man.
You know how people say that about marriage? That's a long time in Hollywood to be.
Scouting up-and-coming comedians, then taking their best jokes straight to TV, he called it the imitation game of comedy.
Stole one of his jokes. Yeah, it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? It was like the idea of the joke that he was even talking.
They protect each other, Katt said. They copy you, then they close the door so you can't follow. That line hit hard, like a gut punch to every comic who's ever been overlooked.
And I can't let these dudes lie. Cedric's sitting here telling you why he ain't a movie star. He over here look like a walrus. You didn't say nothing.
Then came Godfrey. Now, Godfrey ain't known for chasing clout. He's respected, calm, and known to keep it real. So when he backed Katt up, people paid attention. He said Katt was telling the truth and that old school comics used to warn each other. Don't do your best set if Steve Harvey's in the room. He'll be on TV doing it next week. Godfrey even said he personally saw Steve sitting in the back, taking mental notes, and then showing up on national TV with jokes that sounded way too familiar. What are you supposed to do, Godfrey said, when you're nobody and he's Steve Harvey? And then there was D.L. Hughley, the peacemaker in the chaos. He didn't go for blood, but he didn't defend Steve either. D.L. admitted the beef between Steve and Bernie Mac was real. So real, it shut down the second Kings of Comedy tour. He said Bernie was always real, always honest, and that he was hurt. D.L. didn't say Steve tried to block Bernie, but he sure didn't deny it. And that silence, it spoke louder than words. Meanwhile, Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey's longtime right-hand man, jumped in swinging for his friend. He fired back at Katt and the others, calling them bitter and accusing them of trying to rewrite comedy history. Cedric said Steve outworked everybody, that his grind was unmatched, and that people just can't stomach seeing another man win. But that loyalty raised eyebrows fast, because Cedric himself has faced those same whispers of joke stealing before. So when he stood up for Steve without addressing any of the real details, it didn't sound like truth. It sounded like cover-up energy. Fans started saying it felt less like defense and more like damage control. Then came the voice that changed everything, Ed Lover. Now, Ed's not even part of the comedy world beef. He's a hip-hop radio legend, known for calling it how he sees it. So when he backed up the story, the internet exploded. Ed said Bernie Mac told him straight up that Steve called the producers of Ocean's 11 trying to snatch his role. Bernie never lied, Ed said. If Bernie said it, it happened. That one quote hit like a bomb. Suddenly, it wasn't just Katt's word. It was a timeline of betrayal that stretched across decades. Fans started connecting the dots, and the pattern was wild. Mark Curry's stolen sitcom, Bernie's Hollywood betrayal, Katt's viral receipts, Godfrey's confirmation, DL's quiet truth, Cedric's shaky loyalty, Ed Lover's validation, 7 voices, one story. A story about how power protects itself and how the biggest smiles can hide the dirtiest secrets. But the craziest part? Steve never actually denied any of it. When Katt's Club Shay Shay interview blew up, racking up tens of millions of views, Steve hit his morning radio show laughing it off. He cracked jokes about Katt's height, saying, "I'll knock that curl off his head." But fans weren't laughing. They were furious. They wanted answers, not punchlines. Instead, Steve brushed it off, saying jealousy makes people lie. Later, he backtracked a little, claiming he'd made peace privately. But peace with who? He never said Curry, never mentioned Bernie's family, never addressed a single accusation. Just the same old line that haters want what he has. That's when social media turned detective. Old interviews started resurfacing. Bernie Mac's 2003 GQ interview was trending again. Mark Curry's old clips about stolen jokes started going viral on TikTok. Fans even put the Steve Harvey Show and Hanging with Mr. Cooper side by side, and the similarities were shocking. The comment sections lit up with one new phrase spreading like wildfire. Steve Harvey didn't just hustle, he harvested. But this story cuts way deeper than comedy. It's about power, who gets to rise, who gets erased, and who the machine decides to protect. Hollywood loves a clean success story. The sharp suit, the perfect smile, the praise God and work hard message that sells to middle America. And Steve Harvey became that image. The preacher comedian who tells you to pray harder and grind smarter. But now, people are asking the uncomfortable question, how many jokes, stories, and even careers got stepped on for him to shine that bright? That question hits like a punch to the chest because Bernie Mac isn't here to defend himself anymore. Mark Curry drifted out of the spotlight. Katt Williams got painted as crazy for speaking up. Godfrey got quietly blackballed after calling things out. Even D.L. Hughley admitted that comedy can turn brotherhood into rivalry. And through it all, through every fall, every feud, every rumor, the only one who kept rising was Steve. While everyone else's path got darker, his only got brighter. From stand-up to sitcoms, to game shows, to self-help books, to global fame, the man kept leveling up like the rules didn't apply to him. That's why fans can't let this story go, because it finally explains what never made sense. How did Steve keep winning when everyone around him stumbled? People started calling it the Curse of the Kings. Every comic from that legendary circle, Bernie, Cedric, DL, Katt, either fell off, got caught in controversy, or faced tragedy, except one. Some say it's just luck. Others whisper that it's what happens when you play the game too perfectly. Katt calls it selling your soul. Bernie once called it betrayal. And now fans are starting to think maybe both were right. Still, not everyone's buying the accusations. Some say Steve's success speaks for itself, that he built an empire from the ground up, came from the bottom, and worked harder than anyone. But even that story's under fire now, because Katt says that homeless chapter wasn't even real. Once you start pulling at the thread, the whole story starts to unravel. Because at this point, Steve Harvey isn't just a man. He's a brand, a full-blown corporation. And the thing about powerful systems, they'll do anything to protect themselves from the truth. All through 2024 and now deep into 2025, the fire around this story still hasn't cooled. Every single time Steve Harvey drops one of those polished motivational clips, you know, the ones about faith, family, and hard work, the comment section turns into a battlefield. People flood it with Mark Curry memes, Bernie Mac quotes, and clips of Katt Williams speaking his truth. Hashtags like hashtag Stolen Kings, hashtag Bernie Told Us, and hashtag Comedy Ain't Clean pop up under every post. And still, Steve stays silent. Maybe he's waiting for the storm to pass. Or maybe he knows silence is safer than trying to fight receipts that don't fade. Because here's the thing, one accusation you can laugh off, but 7, that's not noise anymore. That's history catching up. And if even half of what's been said is true, then Steve Harvey's empire might not be built on hustle alone, it might be standing on borrowed bricks. It's wild to think that behind all those clean suits, the bright smiles and the Sunday sermons about success, there could be a story filled with envy, greed, and betrayal. That maybe the real kings of comedy weren't the ones who made it to Hollywood, but the ones who stayed true, even when it cost them everything. And that's the real question people are asking now. When does ambition cross the line? When does getting yours turn into taking someone else's shine? The lines between inspiration and imitation are starting to blur, and the audience can feel it. Right now, Steve Harvey's still sitting high, hosting Family Feud, writing bestsellers, and stacking generational wealth. But those cracks in the image, they're showing, because fans aren't just laughing anymore. They're watching. They're listening to the voices that Hollywood tried to silence for years. Because no matter how perfect your smile looks on camera or how powerful your sermons sound online, no empire built on silence stays spotless forever. The truth always finds a mic. And maybe that's the legacy Steve Harvey never wanted. Not the smiling host, but the man who proved that sometimes the climb to the top costs more than the view is worth. This is Buzz and Drama, where we don't chase rumors, we chase receipts. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Steve Harvey built his empire fair and square, or did he steal his way to the throne? Because one thing's for sure, the kings of comedy might be gone, but their ghosts are still talking, and they've got stories to tell.